Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. This is tobacco. Things have been getting a little bit on top of me recently, with psychiatric people giving me a hard time, with my girlfriend leaving me for no reason, and just things generally are starting to pile up on top. So I thought I'd do a little video called My Magical Career So Far, because I thought it would serve dual purposes of being not only a confessional but a promotional. Okay. So we have to wind the clock back to 1987 when I started reading something called the Fighting Fantasy series, which were written by Ian Livingstone and Steve Jackson, and they were published by Penguin. And a friend of mine stole the whole lot, and we worked through those as kids, playing the six-sided dice and stuff, and that was fine up to a certain point. But that didn't quite last for more than a year, because then I discovered role-playing games, Dungeons and Dragons, Warhammer, fantasy roleplay, the really old White Dwarf magazines, and all this kind of stuff, which kind of like serves the purpose in a youngster who's interested in magic, because it sparks the imagination and it gets lots of interesting archetypes that exist in the collective unconscious working. And there are far better role-playing games these days by the White Wolf people, but anyway. And that kind of led off into me being a little bit of a juvenile delinquent, hanging out in the Guildford punk and goth scene. I'm from Guildford and left in '94, and that kind of got things going pretty well. I didn't actually pick up a book by Crowley until I was 15. The first Crowley book I read was Diary of a Drug Fiend, which actually I ripped up and threw in the bin because it scared the life out of me. I didn't actually pick a Crowley book up again for another 4 years. And then moved from Guildford. I went to Weymouth because my parents retired down there. They didn't want to run a guest house anymore, so they brought me to Weymouth, and I found myself thrown from a very traditionally conservative English city to a very traditionally socialist English town, with political extremes, politically polarised locations, which also very, very greatly furthered my magical thinking. And then in Weymouth I went to Portland to go to school, and met some rather interesting generational witches, if you want to call them that, or Wiccans, pagans, druids, whatever you want to call them, who had been living on Portland in some way, shape or form for generations. But unfortunately I only really met them when it came to fighting. like a lot of thelemites, the drugs do come into it eventually. Weymouth is notorious for pubs. There's more pubs in Weymouth than any other town pretty much in England apart from Portsmouth. And where you find pubs, you're going to find other intoxicating substances. So throughout my late teens, I experimented a number of psychedelic drugs which helped my magical thinking enormously. A lot of cannabis, quite a lot of speed, and LSD, various things like that. Oh, by the way, that's coffee, it's nothing too bad. And this progressed, as you might imagine, to a spell in the psychiatric institutions and all the various psychiatric drugs that exist, which also serve to expand my consciousness a step further. Drugs like psychedelic and the various diazepam family of drugs, various psychiatric injections, and they've got the electric shock treatment, which I don't think would have helped us very much. But before ending up in the psychiatric ward, I'd already studied cronies for a pretty extensive degree. I published a book called A Glossary of Taylor in 2007 electronically, which has had quite a few reads. And since then I've published a few more books. I published a novel about Crowley called Dark Pilgrim, a kind of science fiction novel about Crowley set in the present day. And as well as that, a few little poems, a collection of essays, and I also published a very interesting pair of essays about lineal geomancy, which basically cements once and for all the true scientific and flawlessly mathematical key behind the divinatory art of lineal geomancy. I'm kind of jumping the gun a bit there. You have to excuse me because I haven't slept for a couple of days, and like I said, I'm just putting out a little video like this because there are quite a few people in my life at the moment that seem to be a little bit faceless, and my supposed girlfriend hasn't phoned me for a week. She's just disappeared. So I thought I'd show everyone else that I'm not as faceless as some of my so-called friends. This is a crap